The people of Osun State are gradually gearing up for their governorship election, which is slated for July 16, 2022. Arise News conducted a debate for the governorship candidate to ask key questions about their plans for Osun State to help the electorate make an informed decision on which candidates will be best to represent the people of the southwestern state for the next 4 years. The debate was attended by candidates of 4 political parties: the ruling All Progressives Congress, Labour Party, Social Democratic Party, and the Accord candidate party. The candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Ademola Adeleke, was absent from the debate. So joining us now on the morning show as we take a look at the performance of each candidate at the debate, our Rise News analysts Sam Amadi and Waziri Adio. Welcome to the show, both of you. Great to have you on the show, and thanks for your time. I mean, I'd like a general assessment. I mean, Mr. Sam Amadi, you can start, and Mr. Waziri Adio, you can continue from there. A general assessment of your read of the quality of ideas during the debate yesterday.
Well, thank you very much. First, let me start by observing that the idea of a debate is usually to afford electorates the opportunity to not just assess their candidates in terms of their character, their personality and competence that they will bring to the job, but also to see whether the candidate and the party itself presents policy platforms that respond to the people's expectation. And of course, these expectations change from time to time. So debates are important to help electorates make choices. But generally, it looks like Nigerian politicians, even when they consent to debates, they do not see it as really so much determines the outcome of election. So the quality of preparation for these debates by the candidates themselves are not very strong, because obviously they downplay the impact. So that's the first observation. And of course, the PDP opting out creates, leaves the electorates without the opportunity to fully assess what each of these candidates bring to the board, because PDP is one of the strong parties that could win the election. But generally, I think fair outcome, fair environment, fair understanding of the issues, in my view, I didn't see the quality or the level that's extraordinary. But I think a couple of those candidates did well in terms of showing that they understand the issues that people face, showing that they have the competence to manage these issues very well. But one can argue that, look, this it wasn't like this is wow, or if a candidate has a bounce before the debate, probably he wouldn't lose the bounce. Or if a candidate hasn't got a chance to win, the performance did not give them that level of spring to probably do far better than they could have done. So, in my view, just like we saw in the Anambra debate, which Arise News did, even though we had a good intellectual in that mix, the quality was also not that elevated. Maybe Waziri may have a different view, but that's, I think, was fair, but not very uplifting.
Adio, your take on the debate?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Tudu, good morning, Rufai, and good morning, Dr. Sam Amadi. Yes, like Sam said, the debate, could have been better, but I would say that it was actually decent. Debates offer opportunity for candidates to showcase themselves, not just to the electorate in the state, but to the larger state, and also to the larger, to the country at large. So it's a very good opportunity for them to be able to project themselves, to be able to say what they want to do, their understanding of the problems, and what they want to do about the problems. But being able to say something is one thing. Being able to do it is a different thing. The popular saying by Mario Cuomo comes to mind, the former governor of New York State, not the immediate past one, the father of that one, that we campaign in poetry, we govern in prose. So, people usually say, oh, we'll create jobs, we'll eliminate poverty, we'll tackle crime. The real task is how do you do that? And the format of the debate is that you find out that some people who know how to say the right things, carry the day. But coming to this particular debate, I think it was quite decent, like I said at the beginning. The four of them that came gave a decent account of themselves. There was no wow factor, like Sam said. There was a discovery for me, and maybe we'll come to that later. But I think, it was quite decent. It's clear that all of them were quite educated, and they've taken their time to think about, what they wanted to say. And it was pretty okay. It wasn't wow, it wasn't outstanding, but it wasn't also something that you say, oh, somebody, committed a major, gaffe, or something like that.
Not showing up. I'd like your take on that. I'll start with you, Mr. Adio, and perhaps you could also share that discovery.
Okay, every debate, will provide opportunity for somebody that ordinarily maybe people wouldn't have paid attention to. And, sometimes debates are made for people like that. And maybe that's also why our politicians do not take this too seriously. So if you have the momentum, if you have the lead, you don't want to go to the debate and say something that will make you look stupid and surrender your lead or your momentum. Whereas if you stand little chance, the media exposure gives you the opportunity. If you don't have the money to go around, to pay for billboards, to campaign, if you don't have the structure and all of that. So for me, the discovery of the night was the candidate of SDP, Mr. Goke, Omigbodun. I'm from Osun State, by the way, and so I know a bit about the politics of the state. And if you had asked me who the front runners were, I wouldn't, and I'll be very sincere now, I wouldn't have put him there. But he came out as the discovery, as the star of the night for me. He was able to articulate his position very clearly, and he clearly, knew what he was talking about.
Mr.
But like I said, whether that means, having, yeah.
No, carry on. Please finish.
Yeah, like I said, talk is cheap. Sometimes debates also provide opportunity for people who can speak well. The fact that you can speak well can mean that you can also do things well. But it also doesn't follow. It's a non sequitur. It doesn't mean that because you can speak very well, you are very eloquent, that you actually understand governance, and that when you are given the opportunity, you can do it. There's a lot, governance, like Marokomo said, is done in prose. It's not done in poetry. It's a very messy thing. There are so many moving parts, and it's not as easy as, okay, just what people say or what is written on paper. When the team meets the road, that is when the task of leadership, comes to fall. So, in as much as being eloquent doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to do things, but it also does not guarantee that you have the capacity to get things done. So that's just the point I want to make there.
As we're seeing in England with Boris Johnson, who's blessed with the gift of the gab, but perhaps not much else. So I want to ask you, Mr. Amadi, you said earlier that performance at the debate might not determine electoral outcome. So with regards to Senator Adeleke, it might not help him to have attended the debates, but will it harm him to not have been there? He was conspicuously absent. We saw that empty podium there the whole time. And who for you stood out in terms of performance?
Okay, first, the point, people can argue, maybe, let's forget the public interest. Debate is not just about candidates winning or losing. It's also about helping the discourse of democracy. Democracy, scholars talk about deliberative democracy, that, this provide opportunity for recreating the town hall the idea of democracy. So when candidates speak and interrogated by electorates or a sample of representative electorates, it helps to deepen democracy. So when candidates abstain from debating, they weaken democracy as a public discourse. But again, from a tactical or strategic perspective, One of the things, like Waziri said, the guy who is communicative, who is smart, intelligent, and who is running behind, craves for the debate because it helps to catch up. So he fancies himself as somebody who could use that moment, electrify the electorates, and get into their heart. And maybe, if we have good polling, you see that maybe he closes the gap between the front runner. The guy who is doing well or close to doing very well and can't do well speaking or has bad image, public image, or could suffer during the question and answer, he could get exposed for some dishonor or discredit. Fears debate. I will see that even in the US, where some candidates don't want to debate. Some debate only once, they don't want to do 2, 3, but some candidates who fancy themselves. So I think maybe tactically it was better not to debate. If you're going to debate, you don't debate is better than debating and getting flawed, especially when you have momentum. If you don't debate, the consequence, it could be interpreted as you are arrogant, you are not responsive, but your campaign can spin it as you are not available, or you have issue with the format, or you don't like the setup and things like that. So you can try to explain it away. So he's not debating is a crisis that the campaign will manage now. But maybe looking at the whole picture, maybe it was safer not to go and commit a big blunder or show yourself as incapable, especially with the image about dancing governor and things going on about. Look at the candidates. I think, like Waziri said, the SDP candidate talking about, recreating Silicon Valley might look too far-fetched, but maybe with the new demographics we have now of young voters getting registered and ready to vote, speaking to those audacious and idealistic things could help a campaign. So it to turn Osun State with their human capital into a Silicon Valley. I thought that also Osun, I think the Labour candidate, did well in focusing, talking about, look, I'm a farmer, authenticity. I'm a farmer and I'm going to create agricultural revolution. This is a state that has potential for big farming. And so with my experience, even though he used to be a deputy leader, a deputy speaker at some point, but he emphasizes the fact that, look, I'm a farmer, I have practical experience. Of course, the incumbent runs on his record and says, I've done very well to get re-elected, and I'll do better. And one candidate talks about creating, candidate talks about creating 100,000 new jobs. I mean, those are the kind of, if you like, sound bites that campaign is not really about, where you begin to present how to. That's the mistake people make. You don't want to be a Gore. You want to be a Bill Clinton or an Obama or a Trump. You speak to the fears and wants of the people, and not speaking to a panel of intellectuals as how to get it done. And that's why wiser electorates really don't take those soundbites seriously. But of course, most electorates are more concerned about you are speaking to their fears. And in that sense, these guys emphasize areas of their strength. But for me, really, there is no, maybe I would say the most outstanding person would be, like what you said, the SDP guy, and of course the Labour candidate who appeared to be authentic in terms of building on his experience as a farmer and localizing intervention that people can connect to. It's all about symbolism, and at what level you are judging the rhetoric. Are you judging at the level of authenticity, a level of how it is inspirational, or the level in which it connects to symbols that the electors themselves are familiar with? So in my view, Adeleke maybe hurt himself, but not much by not attending. If he can bank on his momentum, and if the reverse is that he's going to come there exposed as maybe not fit, or a little bit less in competence or in knowledge or in capability than those guys, and he's doing well campaign-wise, he's going to hurt himself if he falters at the debate.
This is for both of you. Do you think that, all of the candidates there could wrap their heads round and, enunciate proper idea around the mining issue in the state? Because that was a big sticking point. Speaking of discoveries, yes, maybe if you had probably looked at 2-3 debate cycles ago in Osun, mining would not have been talked about. But now it's a real problem. There's a lot of gold theft going on in Osun. And at the same time, the governor says, they've registered a couple of companies in Osun State. I mean, what's your take on their on their outlook as regards that. Mr. Adio, Waziri, I would like you to start, because you also have a background and a slant, towards mineral theft based on your work at Haiti and the likes and all of that. Then afterwards, Mr. Sam Amadi talks on that.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting point. Actually, Nigeria has a gold belt that cuts across from the southwest to the northwest of the country. And Osun State is actually one of the most endowed states in the country in terms of gold. But what you find out yesterday was people trying to play politics with the issue at hand. One of the things that you expect any serious candidate to talk about is how to maximize the opportunities available in the states. Osun people are known for certain things. Most of them are farmers, and like Sam said, one of them spoke to Fami. Most of them are civil servants, and I think one of them also spoke to things as mundane as, we pay salaries, we pay pensions, and all of that. And the rest, they are traders. But you also have to deal with, so yes, you have these three categories of people. But beyond that, how can you improve the economy of the state? One of the candidates was saying, I will create economy, which is something I found very hilarious. I will create economy for the state. But if you look at it in terms of where are the opportunities for maximizing the economy of the state. One will be in cultural tourism. Osun Osogbo is there, and I will link it back to the issue of the mining and its effects, on the environment later. So cultural tourism is one. The Osun Osogbo, Osun State is the cradle of Yoruba civilization. Ile-Ife is there, whatever you want to believe, but Yorubas believe that the word started from Ile-Ife. So that's one aspect that could be marketed and could create jobs. You also have young people who are looking for jobs, and everywhere, they're in the majority. So do you want them to be farmers? I don't think that is what will appeal to most of them. Do you want them to join the civil service? I don't think that's what will appeal to most of them. But maybe you want to create opportunity for them in the skills that they will need to plug into the 21st century economy. And that's why somebody talking about ICT, comes in. Then Osun has gold. And apart from gold, Osun has other solid minerals in abundance. There are many things that people were, so many things in different places yesterday. The fact of the matter is that all mineral resources, according to the Constitution of Nigeria, belongs to the Federation, not to the states, right? So the licensing, whether it's solid minerals, whether it's oil, will come from the state, but that from the federal government, from the Ministry of Mines and State Development. But the state has a role to play there. And the communities have a role to play there. And so all those people saying, you were doing this, you created all these companies, you were giving them to Chinese people. I think people were just playing politics with all of that. They mentioned 5 companies yesterday. Is only one that is a JV that the state has interest in. So the point I'm trying to make is that people need to wrap their heads around how to take advantage of the opportunity in the mining sector. Many people still do not understand it. The states have a role, but their role will be in terms of you can partner with people to organize, to set up a joint venture or a business, like they have the Shegilola, gold company in Osun State. You can bring investors, you can provide opportunities for them, you can provide security for them. You can also make sure that the communities have a fair share, and you have a responsibility, and this is why I will link it back to the Osun River that is polluted. You also make sure that mining is done responsibly. And what you need to do is make sure that all the environmental standards are strictly adhered to. Apart from that, the most important thing where you can make money is what they call beneficiation. Just extracting solid minerals and selling them will not lead you anywhere. Like I said, this thing belongs to the Federation. And the Federation will make money from royalty and from taxes, and that goes to the Federation, and you get 13% of that. But if you make sure that you provide opportunity for people to add value, to process the gold in Osun State, right? you create companies, you create jobs, you create value added, along the line. That is where you can make money from mining, not in terms of we want to take possession of it or you are in charge of the licensing, and all of that, until we change the constitution. But at the moment, that is something that you can, go. There are so many things you can do with that. So it's not just about bringing companies. You don't even have to produce gold. You don't even have to have gold to create, gold buying centers, to create gold processing outfits, and all of that. So that is what a forward-looking government should be thinking about. But we're so obsessed with this thing that this thing belongs to us. You need to devolve power. Yes, you need to do all of that. But in the moment, what do you do? How do you create jobs and opportunity for your people? How do you attract investment? The big mining companies of this world, the Rio Tintos of this world, they are not in Nigeria. They are not in Nigeria. So how do you make your country, your state, a viable and attractive investment, location? That's what we should be doing. We should be thinking not about the money that will be coming to the state. We should be thinking about jobs and opportunities, knock-on opportunities that we can create for the citizens. That is how to build an economy.
And how can we make those
economy.
Before I go to Mr. Samuel, how can we make companies like the BHP Billitons of this world and Rio Tinto come to Nigeria? Because it's quite sad with the immense natural resource we've got, but the big boys like the BHPs and the Rios, they're not here.
Yes, what you need to do is, you see, when you most of the solid minerals that we have, especially gold, they are at alluvial level. They are surface. That's why you don't have mines. You remember all those all those mines that you have in South Africa. That's only big players can operate for. So you can just scratch the surface and pick up gold. That's what you see. The same way with diamond. That's why you have blood diamond in places like Liberia, in Sierra Leone, and all of that. You don't find that in Botswana. So you have to relate with your environment. And the first thing you need to deal with is you need to get these artisanal miners, organize them, make sure that you can empower them and police them and give them the resources to be able to do what they're supposed to do properly. But apart from that, you need to let the world know what you have. And you need to provide the incentive. We're operating on the back foot, right? So, the big companies want to go to the places where they're welcome. They want a place where they can be guaranteed of security. They want a place where there is the fiscal regimes are very clear, where they can put their money and they can pull it out, and they can make good returns on their investment. And they are not Father Christmases, They are here to make money. So you need to sweeten the deal for them. You need to make it attractive to them. And you need to market the opportunities that you have. Don't just assume that they will just live wherever they are and they come to you. So, yes, there's a lot of work to be done. And the work of the state is in marketing, is in packaging, is in projection of what you have and how people can benefit from it and how you can do business together.
Your take on the question.
Sure, I think I endorse what Waziri said. First, at the debate, Mr. Omi Bodun, I guess, of SDP, missed an opportunity. He spoke lightly about his manifesto embodying, processes, utilizing mining, agriculture, and technology to create jobs. But probably he should have focused more on how to do it in terms of some of the policy issues. I think the problem is that Nigeria, because of the part of the consequence of the oil economy, is that we seem to de-emphasize the potential of states as centers for development. There's so much fatalism that, constitutional constraint. But I've always argued that the states, good states have a lot of leeway in the constitution as it exists today to pioneer growth trajectory different from the national growth trajectory. We know that we run a national economy because of oil, even though we run a federation in terms of other physical and constitutional issues. But the point is that there's need to think around entrepreneurial governance. The economist, University of London, Mariama Mazatumo, have argued strongly how states, public sector actions influence economic growth through entrepreneurial state craft. And what that means, for example, in Osun State, like I said, is that you look at the value chain of mining, you also look at the downside or the risk and the hazard and the experience we've had from places like Zamfara, so on and so forth. So the question a governor, somebody who is auditioning to be the governor, need to put across is a sense that he understands the policy mix, the complexities of building an economy from this resource, even though you don't control the ownership rights. The various dimensions of usufructory rights, not just ownership, can be mined. So people look at rights as rights a bundle of things. So even if you don't control the licensing, you also have some rights to tap into, and you can also make derivatives and policies that help you to harness outcomes. Like I said, for example, you may create an economy around even adding value to the gold. So you don't own it, but it can be mining estate. You can also try to create, cottage industries around that main resource that are adjacent and adjunct to it. So these things require rigor, and because it's a demand and supply, because our electorates are not really thinking about bread and butter kitchen issues. So if you are in the US or elsewhere, where voters, the elasticity of voting is very high. So people, once the curve moves, the price moves, the supply moves. So once people feel, hit by economy, by crisis, they're going to be thinking about which of these candidates can create more jobs for us, can put money in our pocket. Those real folks will be thinking about this resource. Who will help us derive value from it? They're not going to be waiting for you to make an argument around constitutional need for reform. They're going to say, what can you do now to make us benefit from this resource? And what can you do also to help us move away from the pollution and the risk and the hazards that this unbridled and unregulated mining can cause us? So because of the lack of the demand side of it, meaning electorates are poor and disillusioned, and the structural crisis of governance, even from military rule, is that people don't see connection between their well-being and governance, and not even see themselves as those who determine those who govern. So that fatalism is why politicians are not struggling to harness the intellectual capital, to build models, and to think about how they can create wealth from their society. And the way the federal government is going now, and the way the global economy is working, it's clear that states and regions are going to be centers for either poverty or prosperity. And so we need to be now focusing less on national election. It's good to focus, but also more on local election, on those who are running for governorship, House of Assembly, to see whether they have the skills or even understand the need to shop for these skills, to create space for local economy, to get people to be productive and to help people to harness those natural resources. That's really where we should be going to now.
Thank you so much, both of you, Mr. Sam Amadi and Mr. Waziri Adio, for your time and for your insights as regards the Osun elections, all right? And hey, you can catch that election all over again on Arise's page across arise.tv.
Debate.
Arise debate page, and you can also catch it on our YouTube platform if you missed that debate. Very wonderful conversation. I'd like to say a big thank you once again.